Welcome to Getchyapulls, number 83. Year of the Muj. It's Muj.
It's Dan.
And we're back.
Is it now really the year of the Muj, Muji?
I mean, I was born in 83. I mean, it probably won't be. I'm sure I'll be dead by the next 83, so I won't get to celebrate, but...
Well, we've chronicled the 2014 dick punches. Have they slowed down? Or do your balls not hurt anymore?
I would say that my balls are feeling pretty good, but at this point they're neutral. If I could get some employment, then, you know, it would start like the ball sucking. It'd be like a ball massage. So that's what we're moving towards. We've healed up and we're just looking for somebody to fondle the balls and give me a job.
That's good. Well, you know,
Yeah.
we got to avoid dick punches wherever we can. I think I've avoided mine for a couple of weeks also. So knock on wood. The shitty part of 2014 is over, and the good parts, it's a coming.
I hope so. February was recovery month. March hopefully starts the awesome part that can truly make it a cool year. Because every year we predict it. And every year's okay. But this year's starting in March, hopefully. Hopefully March 1st.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, you know. You got to live it up, man. Got to live it up. Well, glad to be back here. Potty Humor Network's growing.
Yeah, we got some new pods, so that's cool. We'll have a website for too long. I don't predict a date because I don't fucking really know, but we'll have the website back up and be on iTunes and whatnot because it's a little of time, I had to buy back the Potty Humor domain because after GoDaddy ended up being screwy, I guess because we got enough traffic to where they wanted, you know, like, it was like, I think 60 or 70 bucks, so I forgot to renew again. So that's good. That means we got some people out there listening, so that's nice. But then nobody bid on it, luckily, because I thought I was going to have to come back as pottyhumor.net, but nobody bid on it, and then I ended up getting the domain back for $1 whole after nobody paid for it, so we got the domain back.
What's the worth? $1.
Yes, exactly. And it had some heat. They were like, oh, we got some blisters, and then nobody bid on it. It's like, heat's gone, it's a buck, take it. It's very much like the sale of WCW when it came down to it. They just wanted somebody to take it off their hands.
Well, we took it back off our own hands.
We did. So
PottyHumor.com will be back, and looking at a possible rebranding of Getchyapulls, possible new volume. Is that what I'm hearing?
it's possible we get started. Just thinking about the way we do the pod. Maybe doing a little streamlining, maybe breaking it into segments a little bit. Change it up a little. You know, if you do listen, have some feedback or any suggestions of things you like about the pod or things you think suck. Other than changing the host, because we got no other options for you.
Sorry, we're the only ones that show up.
Yeah, let us know. Put something in the YouTube comments or hit us up on Twitter.
Or Facebook at the new Facebook page,
Yes,
Facebook.com/PottyHumor.
But yeah, the Potty Humor family is growing. So that's good. Got Last Action Zeros. That's nice.
Get the Wolf Tickets once a month MMA podcast, which apparently we've got some UFC fans in the crew who decided they wanted to jump on board. All of that courtesy of one of our new partners in the endeavor, Mr. Josh Miller, the former Rufus Black or Jesco Blue or Crazy Francis, wherever you might have met him in your travels in pro wrestling. But so he'll be a pretty regular part of the Potty Humor Network. As a matter of fact, it's all we can do to stop him from coming up with new podcasts. So.
Yeah, right now he's got 2, and if we let him have his way, he's going to have 87. So we'll see. It'll end up being somewhere between 2 and 87. But, yeah. Potty Humor is doing good. Comics are doing good. Got a little bit of news this week. Not much, but they did announce the cast for Fantastic Four. A bunch of people were in a big huff about there possibly being a black Human Torch. I think black's politically correct. I'm gonna say black.
Yeah, I don't think.
You call me white, Mooj. I'm not mad.
No, I think Michael B. Jordan would be fine if you called him black.
Yeah, but I mean, we very early on said we thought that he's good and that Black Johnny Storm doesn't really change the character at all, so that's cool. After the announcement of the cast, he's the one I'm not worried about at all. He's going to be great, and the rest of the cast, I have no idea because it is. I mean, I guess some odd choices. They've gone with they're going they're not as going as young as they said, but I'm sure they'll be playing young. I mean, the guys on average they've cast for this are like, in their late 20s.
They're like 28
around
on
30.
Average. Yeah.
I mean, Kate Mara is playing Sue Storm, and she's 30, so, I mean, she does look younger. I mean, she could easily place them in the early 20s, so I don't think they're actually going to play them as teenagers, because I don't think you could really pull off a couple of these people looking that young.
No, I'd say college. I think that's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true to the 616 origin, where Reed and Doom have their interaction and their long-standing rivalries in college. But allegedly, this is all going to be based off the Ultimate origins, from what I'm hearing, based on this casting announcement.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really unknowns. I mean, I'll say other people know Kate Mara. I've liked her fine. Like, I watched the first season of House of Cards. I think it's overrated, and I didn't watch the second season because I just kind of gave up on it because I didn't love it. But she's good in it. She's fine. She's been in a bunch of things. She was in the first season of American Horror Story, another show I don't like, but I thought she was fine in.
I like that show, so that's where me and Muj differ. But I didn't really have an opinion on her one way or the other.
I feel like American Horror Story is the horror show you make if your version of horror is shopping at Hot Topic. That's my review of American Horror Story. But anyway,
you called me a poser.
I know you're not a poser, but that's what I think it is. You just like too much. I knew you would like it. You give lots of A's for effort, but yeah, I know. But I've liked her fun things I've seen her in. Something she was in I loved, but she just wasn't in it much. Was she was E's secretary in Entourage. Probably not. I mean, that's not like her most artistically fulfilling thing, but I mean, she's good. She's pretty. She's a good actress from everything I've seen her in, and a lot of people do really like her from House of Cards. I like that show, so I think that I like her. Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller is Reed Richards. Man, I've only ever seen him in one movie. It was that I can't remember what it's called. It was called Project X. It was the one where it was like the handheld big party where they blew up their house and all that. He was in it, and I mean, I just don't have a lot to go on him with, but the type, from what I've seen of him, I mean, he doesn't really look like what I would hope Reed Richards to be. And then also, they're going with Jamie Bell as the Thing, which, I mean, I've only seen him in a few things. I don't think he's that great, but it could turn out to be awesome, but I don't really like them, and then one of my biggest problems, too, is Josh Trank that's directing it. I don't really think he's very good. I've only seen one movie that he's done, but I thought it sucked.
I've never seen Chronicle. I've heard mixed reviews. You hated it.
I think it sucks. I like Michael B. Jordan is fine in it. I mean, Michael B. Jordan's a really good actor. I saw Fruitvale Station, which is a movie he was in this year. It's great. It came out too early. He probably would have got nominated for an Oscar, but it's just the way things go. People forget about things. He's been great forever. He was great on The Wire. He was in the first season of The Wire. Was awesome. If you remember him from that, he was in Friday Night Lights. Was awesome. So I think it's great. There's also a rumor where they want him to play Cyborg in Justice League, which would be another nice DC Marvel crossover, which makes sense because he's really athletic and he was in Friday Night Lights, and they're really keen on having Cyborg. I think that's why they were scouting football stadiums to film in, so he would be great for that too. But I mean, like I said, half I like the casting. I don't really like Josh Trank, but I mean, just because you make one movie that I found shitty doesn't mean you couldn't turn around and make an awesome movie, so who knows. This is really a movie that I'm just trying to completely hold any sort of expectations and opinions and just go watch it and hope it's good.
Yeah, after that announcement, that's me too, because, you heard me just raising hell about the female Doom, and we've probably spent way too much time over the last several months talking about this topic because we broke it months before it was official just off of speculation, which we often do, which is why we are the
That's
fucking
true.
Sherlock motherfucking Holmes of comic book podcasts, just so you know.
Yes, for reporters, we do end up finding out stuff a lot.
Yeah, because we don't have any fucking sources or insight. This is just
it's just reading random things and random message boards and then just logically going this looks like it makes sense. Like this is going to happen. Especially in comics, we figure it out a lot.
But, of course, the female Doctor Doom thing is my biggest concern. And not even because they're taking a female take on the character. That's whatever. But you still haven't given me the Doctor Doom that everyone wanted to see in the first place.
Yeah, that would be a bummer. I do think that would be a bummer if they do that. And also, my one thing is it opens up a world where, there's plenty of good female characters out there. Like, just, while we're going to have a female Doctor Doom, you haven't made a Captain Marvel movie yet. There's so many famous female Marvel and DC characters who've never even seen screen time. Like, you know, it's unnecessary to gender swap characters when the majority of these characters, like Doctor Doom, even that you have seen, haven't had their due. You know, I just think that it's just unnecessary when you have so many other things you can do. Whatever, they are going really different with the way they're doing Fantastic Four, so we'll see how it turns out. Hope it's good. Well, it's Fantastic Four, but who the fuck knows? But yeah, that's really it. There's really not a lot of news this week. The big announcements, I think, with last week with all the toy stuff at Toy Fair. I mean, I'm sure little things will trickle on in and out in the next few months, but, you know, they'll probably save them for cons and whatnot.
Yes, I actually, just to get a little plug, speaking of Toy Fair, just recorded with the Needless Things podcast again for their 2014 Toy Fair podcast. I worked with them last year and back again this year. You can check them out over at needlessthings.blogspot.com.
Nice. Well, I guess on to pulls.
Pulls it is.
Yeah, so I have a lot. Back to Longbox. We'll have another soon. We have talked about it when we reformat the show. We actually may have a way better version of that coming up. And not to say that doesn't mean we won't do one before then, but for this week.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I've been reading. Mostly things that you've given to me. Spider-Man Blue was really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that, I mean, we'll never do a Back to Longbox on, but yeah, that's a good one. Jeph Loeb. Love Jeph Loeb. I mean, you know, once again, my newbiness to comics is still only a couple years. I've been reading, so a lot of these things, you know, I just haven't read or haven't got to because there's so many fucking comics, and I've got a stack of stuff I've bought, haven't read yet. But found a great deal. Got the Loeb sale Marvel stuff they did together. Got the Spider-Man Blue, Daredevil Yellow, and the Hulk Gray. I've read Daredevil Yellow, which I haven't read yet, but it's good. And then read a Hulk Gray. Started on it. It looks pretty good. Kind of the gimmicks of them are, it's really like, in Spider-Man Blue, Peter's recording just on a tape recorder. He's, you know, kind of like a diary, talking to Gwen Stacy, talking about his regrets and whatnot. And then turned out Daredevil was the same. It's Daredevil's, I guess his first love. It's a
Is it Karen Page?
Yeah, it's Karen Page. So he's writing a letter to her. That's what that's all about. And then I only read the first few pages of Hulk Gray, but he's talking to a woman right off the bat too. So these are apparently just all love letter to first lost loves. I didn't realize how many people. I mean, I knew, you know, Gwen Stacy dying was such a big deal, but I mean, I haven't gone back in Daredevil history enough to know that Karen Page. I guess that just became a popular thing, and then Elektra too. Like, I guess like the people, like, I give shit to like people who complain about like the love interest like always dying and stuff, because I guess I just haven't gone all the way back to the 60s to like look at all this stuff. But I guess there is a really large amount of these people's girlfriends have bitten the dust. You would think that once you do it like once with Gwen Stacy, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, that is the Marvel way, especially the Stan Lee way. If it works in one book, we'll do it in another book, and that's what it feels like happening.
Daredevil, it was like even more brutal because there was like, you know, prostitution and like she ends up getting AIDS, I think, and there's just like this is just a lot of rough stuff. But that Spider-Man story was so fucking poignant. It's
so touching, man. Jeph Loeb does.
Like,
Jeph Loeb does a tremendous job. I mean, his Batman stuff is different because they're just, you know, they're exciting stories, and, you know, Hush has got the mystery, and they're different. But his other stuff, man, I mean, I compare that, it's the same tone as like Superman for All Seasons. He does a really great job at doing the touching comic.
Yeah, such hard. I mean, it'll leave you misty for sure. Definitely check that out.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But then on the pulls, I guess we can start out with DC. It looks like maybe some of our bigger, better books are from Marvel this week. Harley Quinn #3. Just say it. It was fun. Again, it's a Valentine's Day episode, and Harley doesn't have a date, so
awesome.
It starts out pretty cool. The basic plot is Poison Ivy in the previous episode when she stayed with her, and when she maybe not had a sweet hookup. Who knows? I'll let you believe that might have happened. But left her some plants as a gift, and then, of course, Harley takes one of the plants and figures out that, you know, it's a special Ivy-made plant. So all of a sudden, everyone that comes in contact and smells Harley falls in love with her. And, of course, they go psychotic after her and start trying to kill each other and get after her. So, you know, she's running on the street getting chased by people. And it's pretty good. I would say they are good. Like these books so far, within the 3 issues, like they've each individually been like really entertaining, exciting. Hopefully, at some point, I'm sure they will. They'll be kind of like an overarching story. I mean, you just have the bare bones of like the plot of where the book's going, and it's really been more about like every week just kind of a different zany one shot, which has been entertaining that I like. But I guess my one thing, the only complaint, not really complaint I would have is I am interested to see once there's like kind of like a bigger story going on, like how that'll go.
Yeah, if you want to call that book the Deadpool of DC, like so many people are, I think that's fair. And I think in terms of comparing it to the Marvel Now Deadpool, kind of doing the same thing. Of course, now they had that whole zombie arc in the first arc, but like each issue was still very different and sort of its own little one-off story.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Justice League number 28, good again. It's all about the Metal Men. It's continuing basically, you know, just giving you side forever evil stuff, but it all ties in together. It's Cyborg again, and the basic story in it is that, you know, he's looking for a way because Cyborg himself has no idea, you know, who's alive. He thinks the Justice League's dead and that, you know, he's trying to save the world, basically. So he goes and finds Dr. Magnus, the man who he knows created the Metal Men, and you get the story of him creating them and like what happened and to them and like why, even though he made them, they're not like currently in the DCU, and Cyborg's trying to convince him to bring them back, and you know, so it's really good. It's just a one-off, but you basically see that he's morally conflicted, you know, because he was just trying to create these like, you know, robot people, and then they end up being like having feelings and being like more sentient than he even planned on. And so, but now Cyborg, of course, trying to get to make them. And I think it's cool, especially thinking about with bringing the Metal Men back, looking at like the DC universe, especially in terms of like going with like movies and stuff. Like if you want to have something that's aimed like way more towards kids, like I think this is like a very smart property. Like I think they could easily, you look at like a Transformers type movie that's going to be like special effects, because the way they've done the Metal Men in this, you know, I mean they're all made of different metals, so you know there's no reason why they wouldn't be able to like, I mean they're able to change their shapes at one point. One of them turns into a trash can, so they can do all these different tricks and stuff. It seems like the perfect thing to make like a movie that's more aimed towards kids.
Is their creator the I can't think of his name. It's like some Phineas Horton. No, that was
It's Dr. Magnus. Someone just said he's the guy that actually creates them. He's just like a scientist. He gets paid by the government in this version to make them.
Well, in the original continuity, I believe the same doctor that created Red Tornado, T.O. Morrow was his name. So it's not T.O. Morrow in this one.
No, it's not. This guy's name is Magnus, and then he has a benefactor from the government that is paying him to make the Metal Men. So
interesting.
Yeah, but it was good. Like I said, I think they've done a fantastic job so far with the Justice League tie-ins for Forever Evil, where it truly is, if you weren't reading Forever Evil, like these would still be good. They're kind of like their own little one-shots. I mean, the Cyborg, it's back-to-back, but it's really not even about him, and they've added to the story really well, so have liked it.
Awesome. Well, I just had the one DC book this week, but it certainly was a keeper.
It's almost over.
And a sad one in that respect. What we call the go-home show in pro wrestling. Yes. Animal Man number 28, the next to last issue of this fine publication at DC Comics, at least in this volume with Jeph Loeb and his famed run. Great to have Raphael Albuquerque of American Vampire fame on the artwork here. And the battle that's been raging over the last few issues is continuing here. Nothing new. But what we do see is the end and Buddy resolving as to why he's got to do this and get back with his family and try to get some closure on what happened to his son. He does that. He manages to get Maxine and his wife and everybody all together in the red, and for a massive final throwdown with Brother Blood and his minions, and he manages to dispose of him, of course, and says he's never leaving his family again. But at the end, we see that Celestial Gardener, or whatever you want to call the guy from space, who is going to force Animal Man to come and be the steward of the red and the green when this is all over. He made the contract. If he could go save his family, then he would let him have that, and he could see him again before he had to go in eternal servitude here. So, one more issue.
spoiler alert, I'm going to guess he doesn't end up in eternal servitude because he's going to be in the Justice League United.
Thanks, DC. Thanks a lot.
But
Your goddamn solicits for in the finale of your own book. So the next issue, Jeph Lemire's finale is going to be called Good Night, Animal Man. And that ought to be quite an entertaining romp, and it's been a great run.
it's sad it's over, man, but I mean, he's really, done a great thing, like an all-time great. I mean, Morrison is the only other Animal Man run you can really put on par.
Oh, it's totally different.
Yeah,
totally different. Morrison was going like for an intellectualism, like a commentary on self-awareness and sentience in comic books. And
and also did it in the 90s when it was so different than everything else that was out. I mean, that was during like when the Image stuff was like becoming super popular when Morrison's run was.
Lemire did almost like a horror-themed book out of Animal Man. And
Well, it was so different. I mean, he did the horror, and then he did the great storyline where Buddy Baker, becomes a successful actor. I mean, he really just took, the premise of Animal Man and Buddy Baker and like what he offers as a character and explored it kind of, in all the ways you can. So
in new ways, like that Grant Morrison even didn't really explore.
Yeah, I mean, really, coming
really,
to this, there's really one great Animal Man run, and now there's two. Like, if you want to suggest, read some Animal Man. So, I really think that puts a stamp on Lemire, with a guy who's got so much potential and doing such great work. That's one you can put in the books as like, here's a great Jeph Lemire run. When you're suggesting Jeph Lemire stuff. So fantastic. And at least he'll be writing the Justice League United. So if you want to read him, I'm still doing Buddy Baker. And then if you just want some Lemire in your life, just pick up Green Arrow because it's fucking great. And then on to Marvel, we got a couple books. Daredevil 36, the sad finale to Mark Waid, Chris Samney's run. So sad, in fact, that in 2 weeks, Daredevil #1 with Mark Waid and Chris Samney will be back. So it's not that sad, but it really is.
A lot of things are ending right now, though.
Yeah, they're really trying to. There's a lot of things ending for sure. At DC ending to be replaced, at Marvel ending to try to charge an extra buck for a book. But ending, a lot of Marvel books are ending only to have the same creative teams come back and do the book just for $1 more. But it really is a good end to this volume of Daredevil. It's the end of like the story that we've gone. And there is basically a completely fresh break. I won't spoil it because I haven't read it yet, but the whole story with Daredevil, with Murdoch, and his fight that's been going on with the the racist crew.
The Sons of the Serpent.
Sons of the Serpent, yeah. It has a conclusion in this, and it does end in a way, and the way it ends is in a way where it makes sense that he's going to leave town because he loses kind of some of the options that he had. And it ends pretty awesome. I won't spoil it because you got to read it, but the last couple pages is like a classic, like, well, it's over. It's like, what are you going to do now? And then, he's like, guess I'm doing this, and then does something cool, and then, it sets it up for next month where we know that he's going to be back in San Francisco, where he's been before. So, exciting stuff. It's a very good finale to that volume, which is cool because you can go out and collect. There's 36 issues, so I guess that'll end up equivalent to like 6 volumes. Or they do the deluxes on these, so I'm going to guess you could probably get this whole run in just 3 deluxe volumes. So, great stuff. So it's so good that you take it for granted. There's not really much it's any better. It's just always really good.
Yeah, it's a superhero comic that doesn't do the things that people that hate on superhero comics hate. It is just a unique breath of fresh air. Sometimes it's just like fun and whimsical action.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's heavy and serious. Like it gives you like an up and down drama.
Yeah, he's done the great job of in the book, like anytime, because Daredevil, of course, super famous for being a sad book where just terrible things constantly happen to Murdoch and all of his associates. Mark Waid has done a great job of like starting to make it look like things are about to go bad and we're going to go back to your normal depressed angry Daredevil, and then always immediately turning it around with something that brings it back up and makes it fun again. So it's totally, it's a different take. Like there's plenty of, you can read Brubaker and Bendis, and of course Frank Miller stuff. There's plenty of that to read if you want that version of Daredevil. Mark Waid's is different and cool. It's a different take. So.
Well, I always respect that out of a creator. Like, in my line of work and in other things like comics or movies or whatever, it's like when you've been given the reins of something that somebody else has done, you need to try to do not the exact opposite, but I mean, at least
your own voice on it.
In theory, the exact opposite of what has been done.
Yeah, certain things are never good. That's why Superman Returns was not good, because we know that Bryan Singer is a talented filmmaker. X-Men 1, X-Men 2 are good, especially the time X-Men 2 came out. It was probably the best comic movie that came out during that time. Of course, things surpass it now that they've kind of got the formula down. But like, and of course, Usual Suspects, a great movie, but he made his first shitty movie with Superman Returns, and it's because, admittedly, he tried to make a Superman movie. He tried to make the sequel to, Superman, basically. He tried to make a movie that wasn't his voice. And, trying to make... you can always see that. Like, if you try to make your own Quentin Tarantino movie, it's going to suck, and it's going to be, oh, well, it's kind of cool. It's kind of like a shitty Quentin Tarantino movie, or anybody like that. And that's the way it is with comics, too. If you're like, I just want to make I just want to make Frank Miller's Daredevil. Well, you obviously can't make Frank Miller's Daredevil.
Yeah, and not always is it even going to be shitty. Sometimes you might do a good copy of Frank Miller's Daredevil, but it's never going to be as good as Frank Miller's Daredevil.
No, and you might as well, with Mark Waid, he made his Daredevil, which is unlike anybody else's, and it's great.
And it stands out and
fresh.
Wins Eisner Awards, actually. One of the few Marvel books taking home Eisners.
Yeah, and it's just also another clear example that if you actually have someone talented, where one of the main things people argue against superhero books that don't like them, which if you don't like them, that's fine, but if you're just like, oh, it's all been done before, it hasn't, because this is 36 issues of haven't been done before in a character that's 50 years old.
No, I agree with that. And it's like one thing if you don't like superheroes because that's not your thing, but if you just think that
because you're a fucking artistic snob and capes, I don't want to read about capes.
It's all been done. I've read it all. It's just good guy, bad guy. It's like, no, there's much more to it. And I mean, like the books I'm about to talk about. Really, my books this week separated into two categories, two universes for Marvel, because we had the X-Men universe, and that's what we'll talk about first here. Had both Uncanny X-Men number 17 by Brian Bendis and Chris Bachalo, and Amazing X-Men number 4 by Jason Aaron and Ed McGuinness. And so, looking at two different factions of X-Men, the Uncanny X-Men is the Cyclops Scott Summers team, which includes Emma Frost and Kitty Pryde and the other people that...
Kitty Pryde, that turncoat motherfucker.
Ileana Rasputin, amongst others, who run their own school for gifted mutants, and they have their own new team of young mutants, and this issue's about Scott dumping them out into a training exercise, and they've got a couple of young recruits who are young mutants who are trying to get on the team, and so there's a really crazy shit thing. Well, like S.H.I.E.L.D. has been on their tail. This has been an ongoing thing in this book, is that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been after Scott Summers. He's a wanted man since the murder of Charles Xavier, so they don't authorize him to have a school, and if they find him, they're going to try to take him to jail. Well, he sends the kids to the Savage Land on a training mission, and of course one of the fucking kids is a know-it-all, and it's like, he specifically told him not to bring a cell phone, and he brought a cell phone.
And of course they're tracked.
And of course they're tracked, and S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up, and he uses his powers to get them out of the mess, and is all proud of himself and gets back, and Scott fucking sends him home. Nice. Tells him to get his shit and get the fuck out, and kicks him out. So, don't cross the boss. Don't cross the boss. Amazing X-Men number 4, the afterlife journey of the X-Men team continues as Firestar and Iceman, that's right, Spider-Man's amazing friends, are in hell fighting demons. Iceman ain't faring too well, as you can imagine. But Firestar, she says she's going to be the first person to make hell burn. She really fucking kicks some ass and helps get them out of there. We saw last left, Beast was going feral and almost about to attack Nightcrawler when he realizes that his dead friend is there right in front of him. Interesting how they're going to play this dynamic off, because if you notice, I know you've not read this, I'm not going to spoil everything, but if you go back even to the other issues, Nightcrawler's interactions, he keeps bringing up that when they're like, oh, you're alive, and he's like, no, I'm still dead. Like, how are they going to get out of that, because it looks like he's coming back to main continuity based on him getting a book about him.
You would think. I mean, he essentially has two. I mean, he's got this book, which is obviously about him, and then he's going to get his own Nightcrawler book. So it can't all be Nightcrawler in the spirit world or in hell or whatever.
Well, Nightcrawler is having a warm reunion with Beast and Storm and others.
Is that because he's in hell?
Well, they're kind of in the limbo area trying to go to the fight. They're on
right.
the boat. If you remember the pirates from the last time,
yeah,
they're on the pirate ship. And then, meanwhile, Wolverine and Northstar like wandered off into some frozen part of limbo and are about to fucking die. But with a little help from the Bamfs, they make it out okay. The big thing about this issue, you get the secret origin of the Bamfs. Finally.
Nice.
The whole explanation as to what they're all about and why they exist. So,
that's exciting.
Very cool stuff, yeah. And then moving over to the Captain America universe, last week actually, a new miniseries debuted. I was a little crestfallen that I wasn't able to afford it that week, but luck turned around in the next week when
It sells good as a comic shop.
I had just enough extra in my budget for the week to pick up number 1 of Winter Soldier, The Bitter March, the new miniseries by Rick Remender, focusing on a classic Nick Fury, S.H.I.E.L.D., Winter Soldier, Black Widow, spy drama. Oh yeah, classic espionage, done Rick Remender style, which you gotta love. Very interesting that the story actually is about Nick Fury and his partner. And his partner's name is Agent Ren-Chin. And you see they have this whole crazy mission in infiltrating Hydra and shit, and they have this issue in particular is about their first encounter with the Winter Soldier and how no man survives an encounter with the Winter Soldier. And where this ties in is Nick Fury's partner, we find out, in the modern day Captain America, as illustrated by Captain America number 17, has actually over time become the anti-capitalist villain, the Iron Nail, who is the new villain here in this upcoming Captain America arc. We've introduced him in the Iron Nail prologue last issue. He was the man responsible for detonating Nuke. And you see this crazy new character called Dr. Mind Bubble, and that's what this issue is about. He looks really stupid on the cover, but he actually ends up being really cool because he's this psychic villain, and he ties into the story better than you would expect. I'm not going to go ahead and give all the details away. I did see a solicit in this for, you're going to get a kick out of this, the all-new Ghost Rider number 1, in which Ghost Rider apparently is a sexy Formula 1 race car driver.
Nice.
Muji's all-time favorite character, of course, as we know, is Ghost Rider.
So fucking 90s. Oh, I got a flaming head. Got a skull on fire. Why don't you put that on your shorts and wear it to school?
Of course, we find out in the detonation of Nuke, the man, he actually killed lots of people. A whole S.H.I.E.L.D. base, most of them died. So, agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are not happy. And Nick Fury Jr. is not happy. And I'd really say if you're getting Captain America, you really need to go pick up The Bitter March, because clearly it's leaving lots of clues as to what's going on in the present. The identity of the Iron Nail was just one, and that was like right in the front page. There were several other threads that tie these two together. Not at all required. Like, you can totally enjoy this story because it's all based on shit that's already happened in Cap. But to add them together and you have this magnificently expansive universe. So, way to go, Marvel.
Nice.
I normally bitch about you, but this week you did it good.
Well, yeah, that's all the pulls for this week. Next week, I got a few. Got, probably most importantly, the finale of Jason Aaron's run on Wolverine the X-Men. That will be over last-ish. So, it's a bummer, but excited to read that.
Yeah.
We got more Walking Dead, don't we?
Of course. We didn't have any this week, so...
Yeah, so more Walking Dead, and then a few more books.
Yeah, what am I looking at next week? I know I've looked at my list.
I think I have The Wake finally, so that's great. Get the beginning of the second part of that story.
Yeah, got some
I'm very pumped for that.
Deadpool. I believe I have another Uncanny Avengers. Anything of DC books, probably Green Lantern time, Flash, Aquaman, all that good stuff is about time to roll around.
Nice. Well, there's a shit ton of books coming out. A bunch of number ones, so it's a good time.
It is a good time. I really hope that we can get in on some more of them number ones. I think our audience deserves it.
Yeah, I got the She-Hulk. I decided I'm going to add as a book, at least for now, because the first one's so good, and it's looking like I'm going to be getting the, what's his name? The Kung Fu guy.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Moon Knight. No, I'm going to go with Moon Knight. I'm going to get Moon Knight.
The Moon Knight would not be...
No, he's not the Kung Fu guy. I'm going with Moon Knight, and then...
Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. That's right.
Yeah. Not him, but I think there's a couple others I was looking at. I was thinking of Iron Fist, because there's an Iron Fist book coming out that I'm also thinking about. But yeah, gonna get Moon Knight, because I've heard great things about it. Warren Ellis, that comes out in 2 weeks, I guess. I think maybe even the second week of March. So that's coming within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So that'll be number one we'll be picking up. So a new story we can talk about. So yeah. So it's a greatest time as any. Real good chance to be a number one, so you can jump on. So go to the comic store and get your pills.